Hello, I'm Dominic Glynn. I was composer for Doctor Who in 86, 87, 88, 89, along with Kev McCulloch and Mark Ayres. And I'm very happy to be with you on The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.
My name is Christian Basil. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a TARDIS. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With web show, this is the legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend.
Bit of a laugh landing there. Hello. Wow. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all the Whoniverse. This is Christian Basil, the legend, the traveling TARDIS, and we're going to be doing things a little different tonight because, normally I would be
dying.
Yeah. Normally I would be hosting the show tonight, but unfortunately I have a little bug. So to whoever put that smiley face on there, take it down right now. I'm having a little bit of a bug issue, and I'm doing well. Drinking a lot of fluids, taking a lot of soup. But tonight we have some honorary guests coming in, including our special guest interview with composer Dominic Glynn. If you know his music from the 1980s in the Doctor Who, as he mentioned in his intro. But I will not be hosting the show tonight. Those duties will be taken on by somebody else while my throat recovers. So in the meantime, let me go ahead and introduce the panel as we speak. You've seen our host, but tonight's guest host will be the lovely Simon Fisher-Becker. How you doing there, Simon?
Hello. I've rather enjoyed your impersonation of Pluto. I'm
dying here.
I was going for Mickey Mouse there, but never mind.
Yes. So I'm very sorry you're feeling poorly, but it happens to us all at some time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are. It is the legend of the traveling TARDIS, and I'm very grateful that Christian has felt that I'm safe hands to take his place. So that's who's the first one coming up on the screen. So you'll hear Pluto will be sort of pressing buttons and twiddling knobs, and hopefully things will appear on the screen as they should.
Yes, and keep in mind that I will be controlling the chats there. The chats there. We want to welcome Mark Robinson. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much, and Julie. Thank you. Yep, I'm going to be sitting. I'm actually taking the role of Melanie, which is a hard job to do, but somebody's got to do it tonight. There. Speaking of a hard role, the lovely Tony Dugdale.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Yes, Anthony Wilson Dugdale, and for those who regularly watch, he is another musician, as you can see from his guitar rack behind him and his sound box.
Let's Tony introduce himself to the masses.
Yeah. I just
he does all the work for you?
He just gets on with it, yeah.
Okay, Tony, my beloved husband. Is there anything I missed out there?
Not really, no. I'd just like to add in that people watch these videos and tell me I have a nice rack. But there you go, That's something else.
Referring to the rack behind you down there. Speaking of the rack behind you, because I have no segue skills whatsoever, want to welcome, because I was on his show at one point, now he's become on mine, the Lord Joseph, who has made me a lord. I actually just finally, they're Lord Joseph. You can catch him in the morning, my morning, on the Well, you
No,
tell them.
no, yeah, the no name trivia show. I thought I'd get into that as well. Christian was on the No Name Trivia Show, which is I guess you could call it a podcast as well, with, funnily enough, my co-host, Simon Fisher-Becker. And Tony's also been on there as well. That's a nice way of doing things, isn't it? Gee, I like this StreamYard.
Gotta love the StreamYard. It's almost,
It's very professional.
And where can they catch Lord Joseph? Where can they
Okay, so if you go to the Facebook page called the No Name Trivia Show, that's a hyphen, you can watch the show in England. It's 11 a.m. at the moment that it's broadcast. In Australia, 8 p.m. And if you're in America, well, depending on what side, it could be 3 a.m. and it could be 6 a.m. So,
yes, and that is a Monday.
That is a Monday.
All the time.
Yeah.
Speaking of lovely people, there's Dave Chapman. Okay, there we go. Hello, Dave. How are you doing? And what's my TARDIS been up to?
Your TARDIS is upstairs in my postage stamp-sized hotel room with my boss and coworker.
Yes, if anybody doesn't know,
it has a bunk bed.
And watching the Facebook page, Dave has taken my TARDIS after MegaCon, which most likely I got this little flea thing from. And he's taken the TARDIS over to the MCM. What does that stand for? I was going to ask you that.
Movies, comics, and media or something like that. It's the company that. Sorry, what was that?
Memorabilia.
Movies, comics, and memorabilia. So
it's basically the show name before Fan Expo bought them.
So this is the second time that the Traveling TARDIS has made its way to London, and I didn't realize it did have kind of a fan base over there. Can you tell us a little about the fan base it had?
I go up and say, hey, can I, get a picture with, is that the Traveling TARDIS? I was sitting there trying to prep and get in apparently an internet dead zone, trying to get a live stream set up, which you should be able to see on this page. And I had someone come up behind, is that the Traveling TARDIS? Are you the guy with the Traveling TARDIS? Yes. Yes, I am.
And that's what's weird. It's never made it. It's only made its way to London once, and Melanie took it over to Stonehenge. But to actually be at a convention, it's never done that before. So it was nice to see, and it's got a little fan base going on with it. So that's actually totally awesome.
I got to meet some artists and then some great Doctor Who work. Another Doctor Who show host. There's some fun people that I've got some connections with that hopefully we might get to talk to on the show in the future. And Little Boy Blue there will be at Birmingham's at the UK Games Expo over the weekend. This weekend.
And don't forget, as you're seeing at the bottom of the screen, we want to thank everybody who subscribed with us over at MegaCon, over at the MCM. Right now, if you haven't already, please, youtube.com, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Dave, I had a little bit of bad news, but I found out why. Our subscription numbers dropped a little. But it turned out that's YouTube doing that. So we only lost a couple of people. Some other people have lost some other numbers. But for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, do so now. Go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Help us get our numbers back up from the Facebook purge. And we appreciate all that you do out there for us and watching every week.
I got to say, I love that you used that picture. I'm glad I took that picture. That picture is from Doctor Who Time Fracture, which closes on June 6th. So in about a week's time, if you have the chance to go see it, please go see it. You could see it every day, twice a day, until it closes and not see everything. I had a tour after the show, like the second show that I went to, and saw more things that I hadn't seen before.
Oh, I gotcha.
Definitely.
Okay.
Christian, can I just ask a quick question here?
Absolutely.
It's a matter of urgence.
Sure.
Can I just have a look at the all of the people that are in the thing here for a second, and raise your hand if you're a lord?
Twice.
Okay, So there's two
I'm
people here
surprised.
that are not a lord, Dominic and Dave.
Dave,
Now,
yeah,
look,
okay.
I don't think I can do the show unless they become a lord.
Okay.
I'm perfectly willing to.
Okay, well, courtesy, and I can't actually, for some reason, my computer's not going up, so I can't show the page. But courtesy of the No Name Trivia sponsor, Highland Titles, I would like to give both Dominic and Dave a 1 square foot piece of land in Scotland, in Glencoe. And with that, you can actually go and visit your plot at any time. You'll get a downloadable certificate. You'll also get one sent to you and all of that kind of stuff. And you have the right to call yourself Lord Dominic Glynn and Lord Dave.
Can I build on it?
No. Oh, there we go. There we go.
There you go. There you go, sir.
I still want to know,
Right.
if you're really successful with this and enough people get these, what happens when you run out of Scotland?
I don't know, but
I mean, it's a bigger place
that's
than
for
you
them to-
think, but
yeah, but 1 square foot at a time. That's not much, is it? Really?
I said my luck. It's some dog weed on my. It keeps me on my.
I feel as though if we all got together, we could probably do something quite worthy with it.
Yeah, well, it's all about the creating nature reserves in Scotland. So that is already doing something really good. But now that everyone on the screen is a lord, I kind of feel more comfortable now. So, Christian, I'll actually send, if you like, I'll send you the codes for the guys and the link.
Okay.
And if you get them out to them, that would be great.
Absolutely.
I'll do that when I get
Great.
home tonight.
Absolutely there. So for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's highlandtitles.com. You can preserve yourself a plot of, I think it's 1 by 1 foot land. But the whole idea is that you get to become a lord or a lady grace of Glencoe, and you are helping preserve lands in Scotland. So if you'd like to join up, I'll put the. Is there a specific link that you want folks to use there?
Yes, highlandtitles.com.
No, I meant did you have a specific link, or I can just put the generic link?
No, just put the generic link. Yeah,
you got it there. Hang on a
Yeah.
second. Let me go ahead and throw that in there. Highlandtitles.com. Alrighty.
Now that's up and out of the way.
All
I
right,
can do
fine.
this
Let's
now.
introduce our special guest today, Mr. Dominic Glynn, who actually is
Hello.
not unfamiliar with the Traveling TARDIS because he's had it a while back when it was actually blue at the time.
There I am holding it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
That
Happened
is
to
no longer.
why is it no longer blue?
it's a long story, but what happened is one night, the third year we were doing this, the paint kept falling off of the TARDIS. It didn't have a primer, so every time I repainted and my wife would repaint it, it kept falling off and off and off. And one day she said, "We're just going to primer this thing." And she took out, and she went and scraped all the blue off. So it was just this like silverish blue now. And I took it to places. Normally, if you would see it with the picture in it, it actually becomes a silhouette. But now that you take off the scrapings and stuff, it actually absorbs the light. So it actually becomes a character. Let me try. Let me see here. Here's a good picture of it today.
There should be several good pictures of it in there.
Yeah, there's several good pictures, but I'm trying to find one where there's a bit of lighting.
It's a bit like a John Nathan Turner gimmick for getting the press interested by like painting it pink, for example.
Exactly. But it became its own character, and it stopped being blue. It actually became a nice little bluish silver, and that's people now recognize it.
Oh, pink.
Yeah.
We have to see that.
Crazy enough.
All right.
Well, I'm
Surprisingly,
privileged. I feel privileged to have been there when it was blue.
Yes.
You know,
Which is
one of
rare.
the pioneers.
Yes. So Simon, take it away. I'm gonna let my voice rest for a little bit.
Okay,
Actually, Simon. Actually, I just realized we're at a commercial break.
Cut off in his prime.
So, Simon, I apologize, but I'm going to run the commercials. When we return, we're going to start our discussion with Dominic Glynn, composer of Doctor Who during the 1980s. Thank you, folks. Stand by. Here we go. Commercial.
Oh, brilliant! It's hard to believe that in the 56-year history of the greatest sci-fi television show in the English language, there has never been a fan guide to Doctor Who. The official books might give you what they think you need to know, but only a guide written by a true fan will give you what you really want to know. Join Whovian, the brilliant Mackenzie Flaw, as she takes you on an intensive journey inside the world of the first female Doctor. In the Binge Watcher's Guide to Doctor Who, Season 11. Right, let's get a shift on.
Hi, my name is Jamie Ingle, critically acclaimed author of The Toilet Papers, Places to Go While You Go, a short story collection suited to match your bathroom needs. Only have to go a little? No problem. I've got stories under 1,000 words for you. Far from poopin'? I've got you covered, with stories over 5,000 words to keep you occupied, while your latrine stays occupied. And that's not all. The Toilet Papers is endorsed by the fine folks from Squatty Potty, the stool for better stools. But don't take my word for it. See what Dookie the Squatty Potty unicorn has to say on YouTube. You won't be disappointed. Well, I've got to go, but you can grab your copy of The Toilet Papers on Amazon in ebook or print, or get an autographed copy from me at therightangle.com. And don't worry, I promise I'll wash my hands first. The Toilet Papers. You might just stay in the bathroom longer than you need to.
We are a touring acoustic duo crashing kitchens around the country. We go from house to house every Friday night and we create music, we create food, a good time, we stream it live and we do it for free. So now we're just really kind of like trying to develop it and build a community group that people believe in, then they'll help us. So we played from our rehearsal room, we played from the bathroom, thankfully that didn't catch on.
I probably played guitar in my room, not for anyone, in front of anyone, nobody heard, for probably about 10 years.
And then one Friday night we played from the kitchen. It's the main place people want to be. It's where the food is, it's where the drink is, it's where the best lighting is. You can go to any party and I guarantee you the kitchen is going to be popping.
Our ultimate goal, I think, would be to crash kitchens every Friday all around the world.
Thank you for joining us here at the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. We have a special co-host for today, Simon Fisher-Becker, and his lovely husband, Tony Dugdale, who would be introducing and hosting our good guest, Dominic Glynn, who is composer of Doctor Who during the 1980s. While my throat is getting better, hi, here's the team over here. Here's the funny thing, Dave. That commercial with the toilet papers, people have actually confessed that they've actually left the show. Not that they didn't like it. They thought the show was over and this was a spoof they were watching. They didn't realize it was a real commercial, so they would bail out. Like, no, it's a real commercial, guys. Stick around. So, yes, we want to thank Jamie Angle at therightangle.com. The toilet papers are real, and she should be having a new book coming out in July. So just wanted to let everybody know. And Simon, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Pluto.
Stop it.
I will just, in those commercials, I will just point out there was a slight, well, it sort of gives away how old the commercial is, because there was a reference to the 56 years of Doctor Who, which of course is incorrect.
Yes.
But not to worry. Anyway, well, I'll just say officially welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. And I just want to point out, for those who didn't know, within the last couple of days, somebody very special to Doctor Who was honoured. Verity Lambert received a blue plaque, and it was put up at the Riverside Studios in London. Now, with that, Let's pass over to Dominic Glynn. Hello, Dominic.
Hello, Simon. Lovely to speak to you.
Well, I mean, for me, it's rather special that I'm talking to somebody who helped create the atmosphere for Doctor Who stories for so many years. So let's start from the beginning. You're a musician. What was the thing that inspired you to say, I'm going to be a musician? And what was your very first instrument?
Well, really, my only instrument is keyboard. So we had a piano at home when I was growing up, and my mother was a piano teacher, teaching very young children how to play piano. She really never taught me how to play piano. In fact, nobody really taught me how to play piano. I was just so lazy. I didn't want to do any of the learning stuff. I just wanted to plonk around on the piano and make up my own tunes. And that's pretty much what I did. And I just sort of wrote three chord songs when I was about 13 or 14. And about 4 years later at school, a few friends of mine got together and we started a band. And that was what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to be a pop star. I wasn't. And the band, we didn't really make it. But I'd kind of got the bug by this point and wanted to be a musician.
This sounds horribly familiar to me, by the way.
Yeah, it's a very familiar story to so many. But I wanted to get into TV and I wanted to get into music, and I just kind of started doing things that would point me in the direction of doing that for a career.
Okay, so you want to get into TV. What was the sort of first mood? Did you sort of created some sounds, and what, did you go to somebody and beat them over the head until they offered you a job?
Or it was no violence. It was a case
there should have been.
There probably should have been. There was some oral violence. So I did a few cassette tapes of. Probably half of you don't know what cassette tape is.
I was about to say.
I do.
Yeah, good. Well, I did some. I had synthesizers, so that was my instrument by this point, and I wanted to get into TV music, and I thought, well, what? Apart from the fact that I'd grown up loving Doctor Who, it was kind of my favourite programme as a child. What programme might be interested in having electronic music written for it that I could do? Oh, Doctor Who. So I wrote a letter on paper. I wrote a letter to, I was going to say to Doctor Who. No, I wrote a letter to the producer of Doctor Who, John Nathan Turner, and he wonderfully responded. And I say wonderfully because, you know, the pressure of being a producer of a top TV show, there's so much, you know, so many people writing and clamouring to get a job. But he did actually bother to write back and said, yes, he was interested. Could I send him some more music? So I sent him another cassette of more stuff that I'd done on my synths. Basically, pretty spooky, weird, out there sounds, which actually, surprisingly, he did go for, because it wasn't really his particular style. But I think he liked the otherworldliness of what I sent him. And I think it was 2 or 3 sets of demo tapes I sent him before he basically got back to me and said, would you like to write for the new series of Doctor Who? Which was,
hold on. How old were you at this time?
I was 24.
My goodness.
So, yeah, I was 24 when I first wrote to him. I might have been 23, obviously very cocky.
As we all are at that age.
Because, I seem to remember, and I can't remember the precise words, but very rudely I said something to him like, I think I could do a better job with the incidental music.
Oh,
which was a terrible, awful thing to say. But and I didn't even mean it. I just thought maybe if I'm cheeky, he might appreciate the cheek and read on with the letter, which he did. So so I was 20 when I actually started working on the show. I was 25.
And what was the first one that you actually scored?
It was Trial of a Time Lord.
I love that music.
Do you?
More than yes.
Oh, thank you.
I
Well,
love the opening scene with the when the TARDIS is flying around. And it's just really just oh my god.
Well, that was the very first piece of music I wrote for the show because John Nathan Turner sent me the script. This was the kind of final test to see whether I could do the job. And he sent me the script and said, "Could you write something for this scene?" Now, normally you wouldn't normally write to a script; you'd write to picture. But this, as a demo, was my attempt to get the job. So I wrote that piece of music that was used ultimately in that opening shot. I had to adapt it once they made the model shot and we filmed it. Then I had to make it a little bit shorter because I didn't know how long the scene was going to be. But the basic idea was there in the demo, and that's when I got the job.
What were you recording on at that stage at home?
Oh, Anthony, it was just dreadful. So I barely had anything. At the time I was working in a office as a civil servant and playing in my band by night, and I had a couple of synths, and at the time I had a Porter studio, a cassette Porter studio.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know that one.
Well, and again, many people may not know what that was, but basically it was a cassette tape multi-track system which sounded dreadful, and it certainly wasn't up to broadcast. Oh, here we go. Has he got one?
No.
But it wasn't up to. Oh wow! Yeah, there you go. That's it. That's the one.
This
one
is
of those.
Tascam.
I had a Fostex.
Yeah, this is the Tascam. The tape deck's broken on it. It doesn't work anymore.
Which
but
is a fairly crucial part of the machinery.
It has occasionally functioned as a mixing desk, but that's about it. But that's what he's talking about for those of you who are way too young to know.
So you could put a cassette in and you could record one track and then you could put another track on top of it and another track. You could do it four times.
Yeah.
And it was clear, and it sounded dreadful because cassette tape, the sound quality of cassette tape wasn't very good. It certainly wasn't up for broadcast standards. So I did the demos on that. And then once I got the call to say, we'd like to offer you the job, which I really wasn't expecting, I had to suddenly give up my job, use the money I'd been putting into the office pension, a civil service pension, and buy an 8-track tape machine, which was a reel-to-reel, that's a big step up, and a mixing desk. And that was my introduction to proper recording equipment, but it was still incredibly basic, and somehow I managed to bluff my way into a professional TV environment with my bedroom setup.
If we could just step back just slightly, so you were a civil servant?
Oh yes,
because
civil servant, don't you know?
Yes, because my very first job was in the civil service with the Department of Transport.
Which department were you in, Simon?
It was at that time. It was the Department of Transport and Environment.
I was in the Health and Safety Executive.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I was also in the public service over here in Australia. I was with the Department of Defence.
Oh, yes. Really?
Yeah. Anybody else want to whip out an old school tie while we're at it?
No, I'm always intrigued when I'm talking to people and we find a sort of link that might not necessarily be with something that we're doing now. So
the thing that makes me laugh, I always laughed about this, but I do remember the day I handed in my notice at that job, the very crusty old senior executive officer that ran the building that I worked in.
Yeah.
I went into his office to tender my resignation, and I remember him just saying, "I was making a very grave mistake because you're giving up. You've just been made up to executive officer, for heaven's sake." Yeah. And I was just thinking, this is absolutely the last thing I want to do is a career for the rest of my life in the civil service. I'd rather take my chance with Doctor Who.
Yes, of course.
So I did.
Yeah.
So did you ever have to play around with the actual main theme, or was that taken by someone else?
No, I did, and it was completely unexpected, and it came even before I'd started working on the incidental music. I had a call from John Nathan Turner, who by this point had commissioned me, but we hadn't recorded anything yet because the stuff was still being shot. And he said, "Well, while you're at it, would you like to have a go at rearranging the theme music as well? And I sort of fell off my chair and said, yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to sound really professional. Put the phone down and then we're like, what am I going to do? Because it's obviously
no, I wouldn't want that
international institution, and mess with it at your peril. So I messed with it. And yes, I managed to get that the theme for A Trial of a Time Lord, which was 14 episodes, Colin Baker's last season. And, I think I'm quite lucky that it's sort of become associated with Colin Baker's time on Doctor Who. So, yeah.
Nice. So the actual process now, you touched on it earlier. So you once they finish filming, you then just sit in a studio somewhere and just watch it first with a stopwatch.
The process was certainly, this is what it was in my time. They would shoot it. They would edit. The director would edit it. Well, first of all, you'd meet with the director and you'd discuss what he might have in mind, and that would probably be fairly early on in the process. They would go away, shoot it. Sometimes I'd go to the studio or go on location just to pick up a feel of the thing, and also it's great fun. And then there would be a spotting session, as it's called, where you would go. I used to go to the radiophonic workshop, which is where Dick Mills operated out of, which was, he did all the special sound effects, all the electronic sound for the show, and he did it for decades, actually. And we would sit there with the director, and we would watch an episode at a time, usually, and it would have time code at the bottom of the screen with the minutes, hours, minutes, seconds, frames. And I'd go there with a notebook, and we'd write down the in point and the out point of each cue of music that was needed for that episode. And then there'd be a discussion, and I'd talk with Dick Mills about what might need sound and what might need music and what might need both. And the director would often have a lot of ideas or sometimes no ideas, and it would be sort of up to me entirely, just depending on the director. So yeah, you'd have a discussion. Then I'd take a VHS tape. Another one, kids, you may not know about VHS tape. A videotape. A big thing,
they need.
Hey, guess who bought one of the two Betamax machines at that time?
It was you, was it?
It was me.
Yeah. So I'd take this VHS tape home, stick it in my VHS playback machine in my studio, which was my bedroom, spare room in my flat, and I would manually sync up the music that I was writing with the video that was just running on an ordinary domestic video machine. And it was very primitive in those early days, very primitive. So no locking of picture to sound. I just had to do it manually.
It's very interesting.
Oh, Simon, we got some. No, you're fine. We got to run the commercial break. When we return, I got something very scary to show Dominic.
I passed.
Oh, it is your past. You're going to love it. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tune in, and become part of the legend. Here we go.
Meet the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
But not the one you were expecting.
All right, sexy. It's time to go home.
Doctor Who Velocity. Streaming now.
Join author Gary Zeiger for an animatic short film based on his Breakaway Stingray novel series. Watch this animatic short based on the novel Stingray, You Can't Hide Forever at stingrayseries.com. In Stingray, You Can't Hide Forever, Captain Epsilon is putting the band back together to rescue his protege's little sister from the evil conglomerate, while keeping his state-of-the-art warship, Stingray, out of their hands. Watch as the adventure unfolds in the groundbreaking animatic short at stingrayseries.com. Then, join the crew of Stingray with the next novel in the series, Stingray Prophecy, where Captain Epsilon and Dr. Zubre are pivotal players in an ancient prophecy. Can they reunite the people of two worlds before they destroy each other? To learn more, visit stingrayseries.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. We're here with special guest Dominic Glynn, composer of the 1980s Doctor Who, as well as our special guest hosts Tony and Simon. And as I promised, I was going to give Dominic a little bit of a chill. I don't know if you remember this, but you signed this way back when I first saw you here in the States. This is the different variations of the theme, but the scary part is not the music, which actually is the Doctor Who terror version.
It's meant to be scary. Oh, yeah, that is scary.
Get good focus in there.
That was my stand-in.
Oh, really? But I do love the what gave you the idea to make that particular take on the theme, because it is a really spooky theme.
Well, we were me and the other two composers, Mark Ayres and Kev McCulloch. We were commissioned by the record label. It may even have been originally by Doctor Who magazine or Doctor Who Monthly. Yeah, there we go. Mark Ayres, young chap, and Kev McCulloch. Yeah. And they just asked us to come up with an entirely different version of the Doctor Who theme, as different as we wanted to make it, and which is a nice concept to sort of play around with. So I always liked the idea of Doctor Who being scary. That was kind of the thing that had always grabbed me about Doctor Who. My favourite Doctor Who was always scary and funny Doctor Who. That was kind of like what I loved. And I also wanted to make the Doctor Who music a little bit more cinematic. It was always my sort of driving principle when I did music for Doctor Who, was trying to be a little bit bigger and a bit more filmic. So I saw the opportunity when I just had free reign to do whatever I wanted, to try and do a sort of horror film version of Doctor Who. So that's where the terror version came from. And actually, I'm amazed people remember it, but it has been quite popular.
I love that version because it does feel like if there was a Doctor Who movie, that should be the theme that goes to it. It's very cinematic. It's very grand in its take, and it's just a gorgeous piece of work. So if by some chance you can get it, you can find it, or you can try Googling it. Do you still sell these versions?
No, I mean, it was they weren't on my label or anything. They were on a label called Metro Music, which is, I think, long gone. But you might find possibly some copies on eBay every now and then. They do occasionally crop up.
Okay, well, mine's $100 if you want it.
No, that also came out.
That one's not leaving me.
Interestingly, that came out as a square CD as well. I don't know if anybody realises that it was also a special limited edition square CD.
I've seen that.
You've seen that, which actually didn't
at the Who store.
It was
just the other day. They have a museum space.
Oh, they do at the Who store. Okay.
It's quite dodgy though, because it doesn't. Sometimes it buggers up people's CD players because it doesn't fit. Doesn't fit the standard of what a CD is supposed to be, i.e., round. So people would put it in their CD players and they'd lock up and everything. And I think people were going to try and sue the record label because they messed up their CD players. So.
I found one online for $41.69 Australian.
Oh, well done.
A square one.
There you go. But there is. I'll tell you one thing. There is I did a remix of the Terror version on one of these CDs. On the Ravalox remixes, which I did recently, relatively recently, and we can go into that later on. But there is a remix of the Terror version around. So,
if you had the chance to do it today, what would it sound like?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Well, I guess in a way, again, my remixes from a few years ago would be an indicator of the kind of direction I'd go in. I mean, I had another life after Doctor Who doing two different things, actually. I did a lot of music, library production music, which is music for TV and film, which was written not specifically for a particular program, but for general usage in TV and film. And that involved doing lots of orchestral stuff and electronic stuff and, complete variety of music, but a lot of orchestra type film music. But I also had a separate career doing electronic dance music. So kind of techno and ambient and, house music, that kind of thing. So probably I would combine elements of my orchestra work with electronic music. I mean, I love the fact that Doctor Who had an electronic sound, and that's what made it sound so otherworldly to me, and made it sort of a standout original soundtrack. So I wouldn't want to ditch the synth elements of Doctor Who and its theme. So I probably want to, maybe blend the two in some way or other, which is partly what has been done in the past. But that's probably the technique I'd take on it now.
Now, I put in the. Oh, I'm sorry, Simon. I just put in the chat just to let people know. It's https://soundcloud.com/nobones-2. And if you want to paste and copy it so you can purchase yourself and check out Dominic's work, go for it. Sorry, Simon, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask. I was just looking through the feed here. Ramona says, I remember recording using a 2-cassette recorder setup, but recording off of each other. So the only thing was that if a dog barked or a car horn went off, it seemed to pick it up. So did you, in your bedroom setup, did you ever have that sort of issue to deal with?
I didn't have that problem because I wasn't using a microphone. So everything was connected from one to, it was a professional setup of sorts. It was just the cheapest professional setup you could have. Yes, when I was a young teenager, I would mess around with tape recorders and I'd use microphones and, but we all did that sort of thing. If you had any sort of nerdy element about yourself at all, you would have probably done, messing around with tape machines.
I used to buy reel-to-reels from a second-hand store near where I lived and take them to bits, occasionally leaving them plugged in, which resulted in me sitting on the other side of the room with the smoking remains of a screwdriver in my hand.
Yes, actually,
I used to bounce between two reel-to-reels as well. I used to do that. That was
my one and only experience with an electric shock was my dad's reel-to-reel tape machine, where I decided to poke my finger in it for some reason, and yes, it didn't like it.
No, I don't. It explains a great deal about me that I probably got far more voltage through myself and is healthy.
Yeah, me too. That's why I have no hair.
Yeah, but reel-to-reels. I mean, there was a thing I saw recently, a documentary about. I think it was Pink Floyd, where they were trying to create a delay, and they'd taken the tape off the machine around a mic stand, and then back to the machine again. And I actually had a pair of. I did a similar thing with a pair of reel-to-reels, feeding from one, then going through straight to the other one and up to the next one. And I managed to create a delay using the two machines. I was always doing stuff like that.
That's how the original Doctor Who theme was done with tape loops down the corridor. As Dick Mills will often tell us, because he was the assistant to Delia Derbyshire when they did the original version, which is stunning. And the reason that sounds so timeless is because there were no synths used at all. It was just sound generators, oscillators, and tape loops, and the sounds of things being hit and whacked and slowed down and speeded up.
I think it's that thing back then that they just didn't have the technology. There were limitations that they just had to work round.
Yeah,
and I mean,
in a funny sort of way, and that's kind of how I had to work when I started. As I say, my limitations were I had hardly any equipment, but it does make you work hard, because you've got to get around it.
Yeah, you start thinking.
These analog is just more fun.
Sorry, say that again.
It's just more fun now. Analog is just more fun now.
Yeah.
You don't get to do that sort of thing anymore.
No, because everything has become everything's become very easy, for want of a better word. We can do it on our phones now. You can record things on your phone,
What do you think as far as technology is concerned? Because I did when I was at MegaCon, I saw a kid sitting in a corner with his cell phone on, and it had a piano on there, and he was just typing away, and apparently had his headset on. He was making music. Is there a technology that you appreciate that this is great, or do you think maybe technology is going a little bit too far and it's kind of lost track of things
I have no problem at all with technology being accessible to more people, and why on earth shouldn't people be able to make? The only downside to it, if you're a professional music maker, is obviously the competition is greater. There's so many more people are doing it, and they're producing really, really high quality stuff. And they're producing it because the equipment is there to make it possible to do it. And it's very empowering to people to be able to do that. But it does make it hard for people to make a living, because it's so sort of easy for people to do it. Like, as I say, I got the job writing music for Doctor Who because I wrote a letter to the producer. To be fair, he probably didn't get that many letters from people saying they want to write music for Doctor Who. But nowadays, so many people want to do electronic music or music for TV, music for film. They can even study it at school. They can go to university, they can do a course on it. People go and do a course on music production or, electronic music. And because you've gone and studied it, you kind of think, well, I'm going to get a job doing that. But actually, the chances that you're going to get a job doing that now are so small because there are millions of people trying to do it. So in some ways, I was lucky in the sense that I didn't have masses of competition to do it, but it was harder to actually do the job. So it was a kind of mix. It took a long time to do the job. So in each episode, I had like 10 days to do an episode, and I'd be working day and night. And it was really, nowadays it's quite easy because your vision and your sound is totally synchronized. You use one computer, and it's all on computer. You start the computer, and the music and the sound start, and they're totally locked. So that in itself is massively easier. Also, all the sounds, you can have a library, you can have an orchestra in your computer, and it can sound very convincing. So it's a real mix. In so many ways, it's much easier now, and in other ways, it's much harder now.
Simon, we have a few chats. Would you like me to bring them up for you? First
Yes.
of all, Tom says hi.
Hi, Tom.
Mark Robinson says, Dominic, could you do, and I apologize if I'm reading this wrong, or in the EDM Future House 128 BPM remix I could play in my set?
Well, that's a very, very specific to be actually saying it has to be 128 BPM. I don't know if you've heard my remixes of the theme. So I have done some dance remixes of the theme, which definitely could be played in your set. So if you look out for the Gallifrey remixes, that's a CD, a set of mixes that are pretty much all dance mixes of the Doctor Who theme.
Gotcha there. And Mark continues and says, do you guys use Fruity Loops or Cubase or something else?
Well, I used to use Cubase many years ago, but I use Logic, which is Apple's own music production software, which is kind of the main software used certainly in the UK for doing music, MIDI-based music anyway.
Can I just say, in your face, Tony, Apple rules.
Disagree. If I felt that I needed Apple equipment, I'd use it. I just, as things are at the moment, I just don't feel for me that it's a necessary thing to have. I'm on a desktop PC. I recorded my album on it, and I use not the latest version of Pro Tools.
Yeah.
Which I got as a freebie with my first ever interface, and I just kept upgrading. So,
if you're a guitarist as well, Pro Tools is probably the best software for live recordings. But if you're more of a MIDI-based musician, then Logic is quite.
Well, my guitar rig is entirely digital. Mm-hmm. There's no amps, no amps or pedals are harmed during my recordings. It's all everything's in a digital unit down here. So. It's that thing of working in. I am still in the spare room studio situation, so I don't have an acoustically treated room. It's not too bad, but I keep the the use of the mic is basically down to acoustic guitars and voice. Everything else is either through the digital guitar unit, the bass DI straight into the interface. So I keep that out as much as I possibly can.
Yes,
But,
and Tom Kozak says, "I back Tony."
Oh, thank you.
And Romana again has said, "Can you get rid of auto tone? Not everyone likes the homogenized stuff."
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we're going to go to commercial break. This will be our last one. When we return, we're going to complete our talk with composer Dominic Glynn. And don't forget soundcloud.com/nobones-2 for those of you listening on audio. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tuned in. And here we go.
The massive audio Doctor Who Bad Wolf Bluetooth TARDIS speaker. That's all I gotta say, one word. Wow. It looks like it just jumped right off the screen. Here it is in all its Bad Wolf glory. Right here is the on-off switch and the up and down volume. Right here's the speaker. The TARDIS stands about 6 inches from the bottom of the TARDIS all the way up to the top where the light is. Look at the detail. Wow.
You have more options than ever before when choosing a film, a television or internet series, a book to curl up with, or even a radio show or podcast. Get to know the people who are creating for you. The Hangin' With Web Show, hosted by award-winning author and journalist G.W. Pomacher, is the internet's fastest-growing web talk show series. The Hangin' With Web Show features professional, yet casual, in-depth interviews with creative arts and entertainment pros. Meet the people behind a digital revolution in creating more quality content than ever before in the history of media. Find the Hangin' With Web Show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or simply go to www.hanginwithshow.com. That's www.hanginwithshow.com.
In the summer of 1953, private investigator Will Lucky Marks was working as the in-house private eye for Arcane Pacific Pictures. Trapped inside the studio with the killer, Lucky must find the killer before time runs out. Lot 28. Own it today. Available iTunes and Amazon.com.
Again, if you're interested in purchasing some of wonderful music that Dominic Glynn has put out, you can actually get the remix CDs are available on his Facebook page or Twitter. You can also email him, and I'll put the email out over here. I just got the message. music@nobones.co.uk. I'll go ahead and repeat that again for our friends who are listening on the audio. music@nobones.co.uk. We're going to finishing up our discussion with composer Dominic Glynn. And Simon, take it away, and I'll go ahead and put this in the chat.
Okay, so you have a new album out.
To be honest, I do have a new album out, yes. I mean, I often have new albums out because of the nature of my work. A lot of it is, as I say, music for TV and film, and it comes out as an album. But they're generally not for sale. They are for producers, directors, editors to use and slot things into shows and films, and you know. But yes, I have an album out at the moment. I have another album coming out in a couple of weeks, so it's very confusing. But yeah.
Okay, Lord David, do you have a question or a statement to say?
I've just been, enjoying the tune during the commercial. It's still playing. Wait, no, we're getting things. So yes, definitely pick up the remixes because yes, and yes, and I forgot I had a question, and it wandered off into the Technoverse.
Right. Whilst you try and retrieve it from the Technoverse, I shall ask Lord Joseph.
Yes.
Do you have a question?
I do. First of all, if you go to music@nobones.co.uk to get a remix, do you sign them?
I certainly do. I will sign them and I will dedicate them if requested. So just message me, either message me on Twitter or Facebook, and ask me to dedicate or sign it or whatever you'd like. And yeah, I'll personalize it. Absolutely.
Lovely. And the other thing is, what do you prefer to orchestrate? More action scenes, or the I was going to say romantic or more somber things.
More
What's
non-action scenes?
Yes, non-action scene. Thanks, Simon.
Well,
Thanks for that.
I'm probably less of a fan of doing action scenes, only because they're hard work. I like to. I kind of quite like, as I said before, I like the darker side of some of the music. So I kind of like doing scary stuff. I like suspense, and I do like kind of, what would be the word? I mean, I kind of enjoy doing. So I've done a lot of documentary music recently as well. So a few documentary films, and I enjoy doing human emotion stuff as well. That always interests me. So I don't know about romantic particularly, but just moody stuff I enjoy. Action stuff can be quite hard work, especially if you're really trying to synchronize with stuff visually, which can kind of get in the way of the creative process a bit sometimes. But so that's not top of my list.
You said documentaries. What might we have heard you in recently?
Well, I did a film last year called Eye of the Storm, which we were lucky enough to get a BAFTA award for it, won a BAFTA Scotland award for Best Specialist Factual. That's a story of a painter, a landscape painter called James Morrison, who was a very beautiful, he did beautiful portraits, landscapes of Scotland. But sadly, he was losing his sight. And the film follows him as he was trying to paint his final painting before he completely went blind. And it's a beautiful film with stunning landscapes and, following this incredible character in his artist studio. And I did the music for that. I've also just done a film about the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, which actually... the brief was to be quite dystopian, where my Doctor Who experience came in quite handy, and that's called Flint, and that's called Flint, Who Can You Trust? I think it's the full title of it, and that's just come out in America. So yeah, those are the most recent things I've done.
Thank you.
I wasn't. The original question I was going to ask wasn't this, but if you could pick any intellectual property to work on, is there one that you, other than Doctor Who, because you wanted that, you asked for it, you got it, what else would you choose? What is there a dream project for you?
I mean, I'd love to work on a sort of, not a specific, there isn't a specific thing, but I would like to work on another sci-fi. I'd like to work on quite a cerebral sci-fi TV show or film. Growing up, I loved 2001 Space Odyssey, because it came out in 1968. I was 7 when it came out, and somehow I persuaded my mum to take me to go and see 2001. So it was this very impressionable 7 or 8-year-old. I think I was probably 8 by the time I saw it. That film just blew me away. And that's what I mean about the cerebral side of science fiction. I love that idea of going off into space, into the dark reaches of space. I was less interested in Star Wars, which to me was more like a kind of cowboys and Indians in space. I like the kind of mysterious otherworld sort of feeling of something like 2001. So I'd love to have the opportunity to do a cerebral sci-fi epic. That would be my top of my list.
Simon, I got a question out from Tom. He says, for Dominic, what was it like working with JNT?
Well, I mean, it was amazing, really, to work with someone who was that willing to let new talent have a go. So there were very few producers that would have given me that opportunity. Strangely, I didn't actually work with him that much, because the producer's job was kind of not too much directly in contact with the composer. I was working more closely with the directors. So my connection with John would normally be a phone call saying, would you like to do so-and-so? And me saying, yes, I would like to do so-and-so. And chatting with him about it a couple of times, then chatting to him when we were dubbing the music and the sound effects onto the final episodes of the final sound mix. And yeah, I never had any problems with John at all. I found him a nice, friendly guy, funny. We got on well. Nice guy. And I was really lucky to work with him.
Well,
because we must be coming up for our hour. What happens now, Mr. Producer Pluto?
No problem there. I wanted to, because I know Lord Joseph has to exit out, but wanted to show everybody where you can go, and I'm going to put the link into the chat.
People always tell me where I can go.
This is where you can find the No Name Trivia Show, hosted by Lord Joseph, and also co-starring Simon Fisher-Becker, and an occasional appearance by Tony Dugdale. So if you want to check it out, it's now in the chat out there. You can also, sorry, I'm trying to catch my breath. You can catch, when I can find it, Dominic's SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/nobones-2. Again, soundcloud.com/nobones, one word, -2. And let me go ahead and stop the screen for a moment there. There we go. Also, you can, I had it up here for just a second. You can, all of his CDs are available on his Facebook or Twitter. You can also email him at music@nobones.co.uk. Again, music@nobones.co.uk. You can follow Dominic, not literally, on his Facebook page, facebook.com/Dominic.Glynn. And also, I had his Twitter up and I misplaced it. Oh, there we go. There it is at twitter.com, Dominic Glynn 1 there. So the after party's coming up there, Ramona. She knows it all too well there. So I want to thank Joseph for coming on. I know you got to run to work, but please catch him on the No Name Trivia. Dominic Glynn, thank you so much for coming on. Simon, thank you for hosting the show while I'm trying to recover. Any last things you want to tell the audience before we go for the night, Dominic?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me on. It's been an absolute ball. I've loved every minute of it.
Absolutely. If you want to come back by all means, just let me know. And if you got some new album or anything, please let us know, Dominic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, Simon, take it away. Because we are at the after party. Let me go ahead and do the thing so we can get to the after party. For those of you who are listening, do the thing exactly there. For those of you listening to us, or who are interested in listening to us on the audio, iHeartRadio, sci-fi.radio. You can download the app for free. CBSRadio.com, Spotify, Spreaker, Podbean, Player FM, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can download and listen for free any of our episodes up until the after party. So if you can join us, by all means, subscribe out there. And also, don't forget to go to our Facebook page. We are now over 61,000 followers. My God, where do people come from? Love you guys out there. And as you can see on the bottom of the screen, don't forget youtube.com, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. The YouTube had a little purge, which only knocked off a few of our subscribers. But hey, we want to control the purge and make sure that we keep our subscribers and everybody happy. If you want to see more stuff like that, don't forget to subscribe out there. And without further ado, Simon, let me go ahead and bring in the after party. I can't breathe. Here we go. Thank you.
Okay, everybody. I think we should allow Christian to rest his voice for a while. Welcome to the after party. Very happy for the people who are staying on, and hopefully there are some new people joining us right now. We've had a wonderful time with Dominic Glynn, so if you have any other questions, do feel free to sort of drop them in, and we'll try and get through them as long as we can. So, Tony.
Yeah. So I have a question for Dave.
Yeah.
regarding Fry's Turkish Delight.
Okay.
I've subscribed to the YouTube channel, and there's something up here: Dave versus Turkish Delight.
Yes. So our wonderful friend Mark
cover.
Robinson. I don't think I had, but Mark Robinson sent both Christian and Melanie boxes of chocolate, and both of them could not get past basically a bite of it. Mrs. Basil
is
just so while I was in Orlando,
who thought this would be a good idea? Tell you the truth, it was disgusting.
Mark,
I love it personally.
Mark,
it wasn't the worst thing I've ever tasted. That's for
no,
sure.
No. But yeah, but it was just like
do this video. I was going to do the video in Orlando, and we just kind of went on it. And so when I was out with Mark, running around, and those pictures will be up on Facebook in the foreseeable future here. But Mark Robinson and I went around London, checking out some of the sites, and specifically Doctor Who sites, but also grabbed one of these. And so I did a live stream from MCM London to, basically get my share of the how horrible is this? It could be way worse. Yeah. Don't blame me. I said it was the worst. Yeah. I mean, if that's the worst y'all got over here,
my dad,
I'm not worried.
My dad was a hydraulic engineer, and he used to visit various factories that made sweets and chocolate and all that kind of stuff. And my mum always told me the one thing he would never touch was Turkish Delight, because he saw how it was made. he had to go in and clean. Part of his job was cleaning pipes out in the factories, and he would never touch it.
You don't want to know how sausages are made and all that. Yeah.
I spent 10 years of my working life in the 90s in food production sites. There are plenty of things you wouldn't touch if you'd ever been in those places. And there's stuff that goes on in there that is just like
yes, my grand.
I'm a going. I have to go to that thing called work, which is a bit depressing, but it's good as well because it brings some money in. But Dominic, lovely to meet you.
Great to meet you too, Lord Joseph.
No, sorry, I should say Lord Dominic. Sorry, I keep forgetting.
Yeah, come on.
I know.
Lord.
Bye, my lords. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah.
Yes, Tom. That is exactly where we managed to find it was the public. So, or at least while we were in the States.
Yes, my grandfather was an engineer for Allied Bakeries, and it was very interesting. He hardly ate anything they made. So,
well, if you really want to sort of stop eating bread, where they store the wheat, because I used to go to flour mills, they store the wheat. Obviously, you get rodents and insects and all sorts of things going on in the wheat. And I said to the guy, "How do you get all that stuff out of it?" And they said, "Oh, we don't." They put it through a centrifuge and just mash it.
Isn't there a cheese that they have flies do their business?
Maggots in, yeah.
This conversation has taken a decidedly dark turn.
Yes,
this is the after party.
We thought you would appreciate that, Dominic. You could.
We were behaving ourselves.
I'll go and write the incidental music to it now.
You wanted dark and moody.
So, Tony.
Hello.
Tony, do you have any other questions for Dominic?
I mean, I've only recently. Well, I started a couple of years, but I decided that I'd reached an age where it was about time I actually made an album. And so I did, and it took me 2 years and 8 months to get through it because there were huge chunks of the process I knew not anywhere near enough about, mostly the mixing side of it, which I had to get my head around. But I mean, you know, the Logic Pro that you're using and Apple equipment, and I suppose for what you do, that's absolutely essential because you need the power to be able to run video and sound. I did try running video, a small video. I took one of Simon's self-tapes that he does and tried to load it in. And my version of Pro Tools just coughed slightly and died. You know, it just can't handle it. I don't have that computing power. But it's interesting, you know, Christian was saying about the guy sitting in the corner with a phone. writing music. There's a guitar player called Adrian Ballou. I don't know if you know of him. Played with Frank Zappa, King Crimson, Bowie, lots of big people. His entire guitar rig is on an iPad.
Yeah, I know.
So if you ever see him sitting there on stage, there's just an iPad, and the amps, the effects, everything is in the iPad, and he's just got a foot controller.
Well, apparently I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, David Lowe, who has written hundreds of TV themes in Britain, particularly known for the BBC News theme, which is played the world over on BBC News. He apparently uses a computer and a keyboard, and that's it, a laptop. And there's an awful lot of, not exactly snobbery, but obsession with equipment, I find sometimes with people. If they obsessed as much about writing the music and getting it right as the equipment that they're using to write that music, I think the results would be far better.
Oh, I mean, in the guitar world, it just drives me up the wall about people banging on endlessly about you have to have this specific amp and you have to get this tone. And my response to that is nobody cares.
No, exactly.
Out there in the world, 99.99999% of the people who are ever going to hear it, they don't even know how you did it. They don't care what you use.
It's like the obsession with having gold cables to go from your amp to speakers and all that. I mean, I have no time for it. I have no time for it.
There's all this area, and it's actually become a huge industry in itself, selling all this and selling plugins, especially for computer systems. There are just tens of thousands of these things, and you can very easily get lost in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You really can. And I very much started to back away from it over the last 2 or 3 years.
I will reveal one fact though that amazes some people. I'm still running a Mac computer from 2008. So that is my studio computer, is a 2008 Mac. So it is beginning to creak a little bit, I have to say, and I will be upgrading it soon. But I have managed to work on the same computer for 14 years, and I've added a bit of memory and stuff like that to it. But it just keeps going. Does the job.
They were beautiful computers. I had one until something went sideways in the battery, kind of went and destroyed it. I'm like, nope. Now it's done.
That can happen.
For those of you who might be interested in Tony's album, it's called What If?
Yeah, I was just about to ask about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's called What If, and he's got it up on Bandcamp. AnthonyWilsonDugdale.bandcamp.com.
And what sort of music is it, Anthony?
Right. It really covers my youth, I suppose, with bits of the 60s thrown in. I'm very much a child of the 70s. Especially the early part, with glam rock and art rock and people like that. But yeah, it's mostly sci-fi based. There's an influence of steampunk in it as well, and it really it's essentially at the heart of it. There's a band, which is always with me, guitar, bass, and drums, but there are synthesizers around it, and it's basically a sci-fi thing. There's a little story that runs. There's one point where you get 5.
Oh,
and he's gone.
Tony, you've gone off here. Yeah. Well, what he was trying to say is that a lot of his is sci-fi related. There's a track called "Messages from Another World," which I contribute my tones. Wonderful. I think he's still talking next door. Let me give him a holler. Tony!
Yeah. We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll probably just... I hope I didn't damage any microphones then. Because we're both in our own little man caves. Tony's in his music room and I'm in my office. We were talking earlier about modern technology and recording. Joseph and I both are cast members of a radio show, of a radio show called The Hawk Chronicles, and we're sent our scripts to deliver our ads. I record mine on my phone, and the producers have had no problems with it, and I've been doing it now. Well, I came in at episode 103, and I've just done episode 184. So if there was any problem, they would have chirped up, really. So
it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting how lockdown resulted in a lot of actors recording all sorts of stuff from their home studio, or home studios under a duvet, mostly actually, in their bedrooms.
Well, Tony's the little
the duvet booth.
Yeah, no,
duvet,
Tony's music room is very professional.
I wouldn't say that.
No, I mean,
what you can't see, what you can see on camera is the tidy bit.
But he's got a nice rack.
Yes.
But away from that is that there's a disaster going on around me.
Yeah, but Big Finish were very happy.
Yeah, we did one for Big Finish from here, didn't we?
Yeah. Right. So yes, you're absolutely right. And ironically, I got very little voiceover work before COVID, and now I get a lot more.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Yeah. I actually recorded a drama, an audio drama here in my studio because an actress friend of ours needed somewhere to record it. So she came, and it was all done remotely, and all the actors were in their houses, and it was all done, remotely.
So where are you actually based?
Me, I'm sort of near Peterborough.
Oh yes,
so
you did.
North Cambridgeshire.
Yes, you did say that earlier.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So in my Doctor Who days, I was living down in Surrey.
Yes.
But I moved up here about 20 years ago now.
Whereabouts in Surrey were you?
I was in East Surrey, so I was just south of Croydon.
We lived in Croydon.
Yes,
I was Caterham.
Oh yeah, we know Caterham.
Caterham and Wallingham. So that's where I was before I moved up here.
Yeah, we were in Croydon. And
Viv, our friend Viv had a piano shop there, didn't she? In Caterham.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I probably would have been in there. Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. Oh no, we lived in Croydon for nearly 20 years.
Okay.
Even when it was on fire.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Poor old Reeves Corner.
It was really weird because where I work, we when all that was kicking off, we got warned that something was happening, so they sent us home early. And I drove past Reeves Corner on the way home, and an hour later switched the news on, and it was up in flames. It was quite alarming.
Basically, it all fell apart when I left. I mean, honestly, I just left it in charge. I said, I'm off. Behave yourselves. Went up to Cambridgeshire. Next thing I know, it's on fire.
Yeah. Weird. Strangely enough, we were doing a training session, a health and safety thing, where I worked, and it was fire safety stuff. And it turns out that at that point in time, which would have been the late 2000s, Croydon was the arson capital of the United Kingdom.
I thought you were going to say it was the arse end of United
Kingdom. It is. It's that as well. There are two things that saved Croydon, right? There's two reasons for me not to bomb Croydon off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
One, there's a really good little music shop there where I used to take my guitars in for setup work, and they were excellent. And the other is that there's some decent restaurants out towards the south part of Croydon. Apart from that, if the aliens ever came down and did that thing where they just splatter everything, I would have no issues with them taking out Croydon.
Well, of course, the aliens did come down to Woking in War of the Worlds.
Yes,
so where I used to live. Oh, did you? Right. So for those who are watching this in other parts of the world, they may not know this is all in Surrey, which is a part of the southern part of England. So.
Yeah. I mean, the War of the Worlds book, and I think the original film follows through towns actually in Surrey. And Horsell Common, where the aliens land, I used to rehearse in the Horsell Village Hall.
Brilliant.
Because I was in a band in and around Woking. I was in a couple of bands around there, and we used to rehearse in the Horsell Village Hall for a while.
You can see where the roots of your interest in sci-fi music came from.
Well, it goes. I was saying before my system decided to chuck me off. I was a big fan of the stuff that Jerry and Sylvia Anderson was doing in the 60s, and the theme music for those shows, particularly the theme to Joe 90.
Barry Gray did some.
The man,
and also the closing music to UFO.
Yeah,
which was the spookiest, weirdest sound.
Yeah. There's a track I've got on the album called "Messages from Another World," and originally my idea was to have it something like as a cross between Ultravox and Muse, really big, heavy guitars and stuff. And then I got into a conversation with someone about Jerry Anderson and the music, and Joe 90 in particular, which is my favorite theme tune. It's a great little track.
That's a bit nice bit of guitar on that.
Oh, it's just such a banging little tune. It became a really big hit in the dance clubs in the North in the 70s, weirdly enough.
Really?
Yeah, in the Northern Soul movement, it was a big hit there. But that conversation just in my head started to alter the way it went, and it's ended up sounding like a 1960s TV theme kind of idea, with Simon on the opening of it making an announcement in a variety of strange voices that I processed. But it just took that. I used to have the single as well. I bought the single, and the B-side was a song called Hijacked. I remember that. I used to play it to death.
I went to a Barry Gray concert it wasn't with Barry Gray, it was after he died, but it was full orchestra doing all the Barry Gray stuff. Fantastic. The South
He
Bank.
loved a brass section, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
It's definitely music of its time. It wouldn't work
absolutely
now, but
but what one of the things I like about it was when I didn't realize how old he was when he was doing some of this stuff, because he was born in 1908.
Wow.
So when Joe 90 hit in 68, he was 60 years old, but he was still mining contemporary sounds and ideas and putting them into the music. And I really respect that he was prepared to go down this
mentioned the UFO closing music, which he did on, I believe, was done on an instrument called an Ons Martineau, which is like an early electronic keyboard instrument. There's been a lot of classical music of the 20th century written for the Ons Martineau. And he was a real proponent of this instrument. And it obviously, if you know that music, you know how out of this world it sounds. But as you say, a 60-year-old man in the mid 60s or the late 60s doing something quite as innovative as that is quite stunning.
Yeah, to me that gets a lot of respect. I also like the theme for some of the stuff on Space 1999.
Oh,
he really makes the bass player earn his money on that.
Yeah, exactly.
The bass on that is ferocious. It really is. It really, caning it on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it makes the guy work on the Joe 90 theme as well. There's some, it's a real rock track.
Absolutely.
The drums. It's almost veering into heavy metal drum style, where with the hi-hat, instead of playing a 4, instead of playing the 8, it's just playing the 4, so it just drives it.
The other composer of that era that I was obsessed with growing up was Edwin Astley, who did a lot of the ITC drama series of the 60s and 70s. So things like Danger Man. Department S.
Yeah.
They all have fantastic TV themes.
God, how old are we?
Yes.
I know.
Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, the rest of you kids.
Sorry, Christian.
They are perfect examples.
I'm listening. That's okay.
They are the perfect examples of shows where actually the music was far better than the show. So when I go back and watch something, if I ever see something on YouTube, an old episode or something, I put it on. Music's fantastic. Actually, the program's quite boring.
Yeah.
But guys, I'm going to have to head off actually, because apart from anything else, my dog is desperate to go out.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to leave you. But thank you so much for having me on. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Great.
Thank you, Dominic.
No, absolute pleasure, and I hope to speak to you all again soon.
Yes,
thank you so much.
To YouTube when you log off.
Of course.
Is it just me? You're breaking up quite badly.
Yeah, he's breaking up.
Yeah, he's in Birmingham.
Can you do sign language?
Dave, can you bring up the YouTube link on Tony's? For some reason, my computer keeps freezing when I try to bring it up.
Here. I don't remember which one.
Messages from Another World, if you can bring that up.
Yeah. I put for the end cards.
I'm glad we're not on the audio now.
Thanks, guys. I'll take care. I've got to go, and I'll speak to you all again soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
no worries. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Wait a minute. Did you mean the end of the show?
I mean, still, that's the wrong. I couldn't remember what I put in there. I was trying to say.
Are you guys familiar with someone called Norman Collier by any chance?
Oh, yes. Look up Norman Collier. Just look him up because he did a brilliant routine with a faulty microphone. And that's exactly how
it's dropping
Dave
out, and that's
sounds.
exactly what you're doing, Dave. You're just taking Norman's routine there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you're not even sounding like a Dalek. You just yeah.
Hotel Wi-Fi.
Yes, hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it is hotel Wi-Fi.
Come on, pay for the good stuff. Don't just go on the free one.
Yes. We'll catch up with you tomorrow, Dave.
Simon, if you want to send me that link again, for whatever reason, it's not showing up. I think I found it, but it's We Are the Night.
Oh, that's the long one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, that's got the long. That's my epic. That one is.
No,
I was checking the email and I couldn't find it.
In the email I sent you this afternoon, there is an actual link to it within the body of the email. Dun, dun,
I need to check those videos again because I think the sound is just too loud on there. I need to take the sound.
I don't see it in here, Simon. I'm so sorry.
Worry not.
If you can send it again, I'll go ahead and put it up there.
Before you start saying, I just want to check the sound level on that video because it sounds like it's distorting to me.
Well, no,
I know YouTube turns it down, but it turns it down for your stuff, but it doesn't turn it down for the adverts in case anyone hadn't noticed. They're always really.
I'm not putting up your hashtag, Tom, until we really end the show. Always save Tom's for last.
Right. Okay. Let's see if I can.
Apologies for whatever reason. It is just being.
I don't know what's going on. I got basically kicked out about 3 times.
Yeah, my email is being about as effective as my microphone, apparently.
Okay, I've just sent it to you again.
Is that mine you're sending?
Yes, it was the links that you gave me before.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to redo the sound on those because I think what I've when I was editing it, I could have brought the sound levels down because it's the same when you play it on Joe's thing and when on here. To me, it's just pushing it a little bit hard.
Have you received it, Christian? Oh, I can't hear him now.
That's because he's turned his microphone off.
You want messages from a new world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just. Yeah, I apologize. It's coming up blank. Hang on a second. Let me try something here.
Unless it's been taken off and I don't know about it.
It sent me the cover, but it didn't send me the.
No, there's a YouTube. If you go down into the body of the email, it's within the email.
Mm-hmm.
It says messages from another world. Let me see if I can click on it. Yeah. Yes, it plays this end.
I wouldn't worry about it too much, guys. Like I said, I need to redo those videos and just modify.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? The email hid it. So let me. It literally just tucked it away that I couldn't find it. So I was not happy about it. So apologies there. Well, we'll get it going.
Yeah.
There you go.
Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, that's distorting.
Oh no.
It's now buffering.
Well, Dave sent it through. He's got it on his side, but his Wi-Fi is trying to push it through.
Ramona says, got my attention.
I really must watch that film at some point.
Empty space, empty world, silence in the night, dreams beaming in out of nothing.
Is it mono?
Will arise. There's something in the voice.
I think it's just the yeah. That's right.
Let me try this just for giggles. Let's try it. Is it working? Because I can't even hear it.
Yeah,
it is.
Oh, it is. Is it sounding better?
A bit, yes. I think when I made the video, I didn't really. I left the level of the sound relative to the too high, and I think when it created the video, it compressed it down a bit, and it's distorting.
We are receiving messages from another world.
Luckily, I got better Wi-Fi than going day.
Empty space, empty world, silence in the night, dreams beaming in out of nothing.
You guys can tell me when to stop.
Destiny will arise. There's something
Apparently,
in
this
the
movie is a
voice,
remake of an earlier one.
leaving the atmosphere ringing.
Yeah, from the 60s.
And when darkness falls,
I think the original was 65, 66. This was 77.
sleeping creatures awake, stirring and aware. Cerebral connections are closing. Power to the machine. Creation of the voice.
I'll just figure out what he was eating.
Echoing loud and transposing.
Space food.
And the darkness falls. We are
Sounds really tinny where I am.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's just the feed.
The bandwidth.
Yes, it's the feed.
Can't cope with it.
Yeah. Because when you were on the show first time, it sounded much better.
Yeah, and I took it right from this video. I just ripped this video for that.
Shimmering twilight relaying.
So it's definitely the share.
Receivers to maximum gain. Quantum signals sing. Astronomy dominate playing.
Had to get a Pink Floyd reference in there, guys.
And so darkness falls. We are
Now, on that note, I need to go now.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to get up and drive to Birmingham tomorrow and see Dave.
Yeah. And
It's just down the road. It's
what, 40 or 50 minutes?
Yeah, it depends on a bit of traffic, but it's not that.
Everybody,
that bad.
thank you for joining us tonight.
it was a
Simon,
pleasure.
Tony, thank you for hosting. Dominic, don't forget to go over to soundcloud.com/nobones-2 for Dominic's music, and to get Anthony's music, Anthony William Dugdale.
Wilson.
Well, I'm sorry.
William.
Anthony Wilson Dugdale.bandcamp.com.
I told you the meds are.
The man's not well.
No,
Anthony
it's okay.
Wilson Dugdale.bandcamp.com/releases. Check out all their music. We're going to go ahead and end the show now. And
Tony, don't give him an out like that. Don't give him an out like that. Because this is all the time. This isn't just tonight.
Oh, well, Simon's on the run.
Move me around and then he's gone. Okay.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
better go.
Don't give him
All
an
right,
out.
Thank you, everybody,
Bye, guys.
for joining us. We are out of here.
See you tomorrow.